Hey everyone, we're back here at the Gainside Pulse Conference 2022, day number 2, and I have one of the speakers with me. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Candace Wallace. I'm the Chief Customer Officer at Relias. I always say I'm responsible for everything in customer joy, so everything that happens post-sale. It's really nice to chat with you all today.
I love how you phrase that.
Yeah.
It really matches kind of like the ambience we have here at the conference, would
Yes.
you say?
Definitely. Childlike joy, customer joy, we like all the joy.
What was your session about? You were one of the speakers.
So we talked about 5 steps to scaling customer value. And so really kind of trying to break it down if you're thinking about building a value program into some easy things that folks could take home and work on. And so that included tips around how you do your value selection and really thinking about really important factors like having a value, something that you can really achieve at every customer journey stage, and also making sure you're covering your full customer base on how you measure value.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, you take the customer journey, you split it up into phases. Do you include the sales phase too, or
We do not
phase?
for that one.
Okay, so from onboarding,
Yeah.
what other phases do you have there?
Yeah, so for us, it's onboarding, it's adoption, and then it's renewal expansion, really.
Okay, so every phase out of the 4 phases, you have 5 steps of value for each phase, or how do you think
So when
about
we
it?
think about that, I always say, like, when you're going to build a value, that first step is picking your values and making sure you're thinking about every part of the customer journey. When we talk about really important things like time to first value in an onboarding phase, you have to make sure that the values, the reasons why people purchase your software, are things that can be achieved in onboarding. Or if that's not the case, that you have additional ROI that can be achieved in that onboarding phase and really being thoughtful about that. So that's really our first step. When we talk about the second step, it's really about taking a step back and thinking about how are we going to operationalize this and making sure that we're targeting what I like to call primary and secondary values. And so
Got it.
for me, that's a big differentiator in making sure that primary is why you purchase, secondary are those additional outcomes. And I think that's a big takeaway because a lot of times you can fall into the trap of utilization equals value, and that's not always the case. And so a lot of times what you're pushing in your business reviews or other things are very kind of small milestones toward a larger outcome. And so making sure you're contemplating that and ensuring that every customer has a primary value. That can get in the way of renewal if you don't.
So essentially the 5 steps are a framework for your team to make sure that you define the route outcomes for clients as appropriate for that phase.
Yes.
So we're not going to pick values that we're going to promote for onboarding that are like way too complex or like inappropriate for onboarding. And because we have that list, if a customer wants to do a different use case or business outcome, we can kind of debate on that because it's not on our list and we feel more confident to sometimes push back and help the customer be successful. And then the next, so first you define what those are. What is reasonable for onboarding? What is reasonable for adoption? What is reasonable for expansion? Renewal?
Yes, absolutely. In my mind, we put expansion and renewal in that same phase. So,
that makes sense. So 3 phases now.
But the other big thing for us, when you think about, you understand what your values are, you've thought about the steps to make sure that you have the right
and how do you
present.
actualize the value once you know what the appropriate value is?
And then the next thing is that you have to think about technology. So how do you do this? So at our organization, we have a very large long tail. And so how I approach it on a high touch side versus how I do with a scaled team is incredibly different. So walking through, picking out your capabilities, really doing that first and then matching technology in after you've thought about what's your end goal, what do you have to accomplish to do this?
Okay, so first I want to put things in context because her company has more than 1,000 customers every year, right, that you onboard. So it's a lot. So that's why it's very, very important. But I would say even if you have less, all these steps are really still relevant because it makes you just be more efficient. So you don't have to hire a lot of people. Okay, so when you talk about steps of the technology, tell me a little bit more about that because I think an example would be really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, I'm a big fan of leveraging great technology. And so when we thought about it, we really kind of split the 2 teams and thought, how are we going to do this in a high-touch space where we have one-to-one conversations? And how are we going to do this in a scaled space where we don't always get to talk to everyone that we want to understand? And so we took a step back and said, really, for that high-touch space, we have a couple capabilities that are important. I need to be able to track it on an account level. I need everyone who's customer facing to see it, to be able to edit it. I need to be able to maybe have more than one value tracked at a time. And I need this information to live there in perpetuity so I can see this history. I also need it to be standardized because when you have free text, data is really hard to work with. And so
fake lists and such so you can report on it.
Absolutely. And so that high touch space really kind of set the big stage of what do we need here? And then we took a step back and said, okay, in the scaled space, I need a lot of these same things. I need the same foundation and framework, but I need to be able to get that information by customers self-selecting it into the values through scale. And so we had to think about, okay, how are we going to manage this over time? And so when we stepped back, we really took a step and said, okay, the foundation, what we call the customer value object, is a Salesforce solution.
Interesting.
And because that's the foundation of everyone who's customer facing in our business. Now, how we operationalize it, in the high-touch space, we leverage Gainsight. We are doing a lot of success plans. When we think about that scaled space, we are leveraging things like Journey Orchestrator and Gainsight to really run campaigns where people are selecting into our information. We do in-app as well, where we're working directly with folks in the platform to help us understand what are you trying to achieve this year. And we also use the community for that. And so it's all about using all of the tools where customers are engaged, where they can interact with us in kind of a simple survey format. And then we can run follow-up campaigns and nurture campaigns to really help them down that journey. Where in the high-touch space, we would do it one-to-one.
Got it. SkillJar were presenting yesterday, and they said that one of the things that really helped them in terms of scaling is creating these really mini videos or micro training, as they call it, and they were able to reduce support tickets. And another lady was here, and she said that once they increased product adoption, the retention went 2 times fold for the SMB, the long tail, as you called it. Are you starting to see some of the similar?
Yes, I will say we just had a great all hands at our company today where we presented some of our digital strategy results. So for the first time this year, we ran some tailored campaigns around what we like in-app engagement and really based on habits and very personalized experiences. Our community, we completely did an entire overhaul. And then we also run different email campaigns based on habits or based on industry. And in just 6 months' time, we have over 5 million active customer engagements, which is magical. And it's a good example of what you could do at scale. In some places like support, it allows you to put resources toward other activities. In other places, it's really just giving you more rich data about your customers and driving engagement. Prior to this year, those 5 engagements, 5 million that we just didn't have. And now we'll probably close the year closer to 10 million. And so
that's a big celebration milestone.
Yes, definitely.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
So what's next for you? So you defined the framework, you have a value customer journey. What else is for you for next year?
Yeah. So as we think about going into the next year, it's all about what you do with it going forward. So the last 2 steps when you think about building a framework is first around just thinking about what is your cadence for review. So we can go back and understand, did we have a lot of customer values that weren't in our framework that we need to add in? Are there some that maybe aren't performing well? So do you have customers buying for one reason and they can't achieve that value with the product? That's a lot of engagement that has to happen with our product team. So setting up the framework for how often you do it, what you're going to analyze, and making sure you're ready for that. So that's really that 4th step. And then what comes after that is what you do with the data. And so for us, it is all about partnering with product, with sales, with marketing, to really make sure that we're pushing those stories out. When you can say that a majority of customers that use one solution achieve a specific value in a very specific period of time, all of a sudden, it's great material you can share with the world, but it's also how you can consult customers. So when someone comes into our onboarding and say, what do other people do? What should I be focused on?
Your team knows.
You have really clear information to support it. So
that's awesome. So I really love the 5 steps. Design, create, implement or test, and then optimize, amplify. Because you really take what you have and now you're gifting it into so many other purposes rather than just like the initial purpose, your primary purpose versus your secondary purpose for this. The primary purpose is to make customers more successful, creating better adoption, and then improving retention. But then the secondary purpose for this exercise is obviously making the product team smarter, giving sales better stories to tell, and thereby increasing conversion, telling marketing all these stories so that they can align the pitch, basically, right? And the branding correctly, and enrich the website in a better way. And that's how you guys create a cohesive customer journey from end to end. So really grateful for you to come in and sharing that. I know not everybody were able to come to the conference, so this was a great recap.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yet another excuse to come next year, because these are the type of quality sessions you guys are going to get. So
excellent. Well, thanks for having me. Excited to share with everyone, and hopefully follow up with anything that you need if folks are interested. So.
Absolutely. Okay. Quick question for you about the conference. What do you like about the conference the most from things that you're seeing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first and foremost, getting back in person is awesome. I think just the energy, the excitement, but it's really the networking. I would say for me, everybody is focused on a lot of the same things right now: staff retention, digital, scale, value. And so getting together with like minds and being able to share what's working, what's not working, because it's a very collaborative group when you think about customer success. And so people are so willing to share with you what's working for them, what's not working. And I find that to be more valuable than, honestly, a lot of times even sitting in sessions, because you're collaborating together. So.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share with everyone, with me, with everyone that's watching. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned, and thank you to Rocket Lane, the #1 onboarding software in the world. And so if you didn't get to their website, go visit them and see a demo. All right. See you at the next video.